We are here,
We're
and we
back.
are ready to talk about all things NFL playoffs. Hydro and Co's back. I don't know how many weeks we took off. What, 2? It feels like we haven't recorded in a while.
It's been a minute.
It's been a minute. We haven't really gave up on it. It's just with Christmas, and then I was on vacation. And just been a little bit since we've actually had time to get together and record this. So, welcome back. Um, as you can tell, Kendall was not here. Car troubles. I've been there, done that. Can totally understand. So we got Mr. Bryce coming in clutch, coming in to be the third guy. Usually he's the fourth guy, but he's always one of the guys. So Bryce, always great to have you on, buddy. And we're going to be talking about some pretty interesting topics. NFL playoffs start this weekend, so we're going to talk about all things wildcard round. But first, let's talk about the thing that has already happened. The holiday for some, you know, the day that starts the journey towards a new path forward for a lot of these teams, Black Monday. We have currently 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 open head coaching jobs in the NFL. Probably will be 7 at some point. I'm predicting Mike McCarthy gets fired, but I don't know. They won't let the Bears talk to him, so I don't know. I don't know exactly what they're going to do, but I think we can go ahead and start by ranking these 6 jobs based on how desirable they are. So let's start with what we think is the least desirable job and work our way up. Bryce, Chase, any just glaring ones you feel like should be at the very bottom of the list? I have an idea.
Saints.
Saints.
Um, the Patriots is one of mine.
One of your
the least
bottom.
desirable. Yeah.
Explain.
Go explain because I'm interested in that one.
Well, obviously, to me, there's not a lot on the roster to work with as of right now. You got to deal with that. You got to deal with Robert Kraft as an owner. You don't know what you got really in Drake May, and Joe Milton just showed you a little bit. So now you got a little bit of controversy on your hand. You don't have a clear cut. And then obviously, like for the future wise, they got the draft capital, yes, but I don't know their cap situation. I would assume it's pretty good.
It's $131 million, I think, going into
Yeah.
next. They have like the most in the league.
131 and a half.
Yeah. So
So you got all kinds of fucking cash.
You got all kinds of money, but the Patriots have also been kind of known as a team that doesn't like big fish or big game hunt in free agency. Not necessarily. And I don't know. The Patriots just doesn't really seem like a desirable spot to me as a coach. But
okay, Chase, do you have a team other than the Saints you would put under the Patriots?
Under the Patriots, I'm putting the Patriots at the very top. I think they're one of the more desirable places. Okay. And I'll talk about them whenever we talk about our favorite. But my other so I got Saints 6, and I'll let you talk about them because I think you and I were going to agree on why the Saints are not desirable. My number 5 team is the Raiders because they don't have a quarterback yet. However, they don't really have a top draft pick anymore because they did drop to 6. And I think by the time that they pick, the top 2 quarterbacks will be gone, and Sanders and Ward, you would think. And then they play in a pretty tough division. All 3 teams outside of them are in the playoffs right now. And they just haven't had consistency since early 2000s. It's just been a carousel of coaches, and they've had 12 different head coaches since 2004. So I don't know.
They'll be paying 4 coaches next year.
That's crazy. I will say though, Las Vegas, I think if you're a younger coach, is a desirable place to live at. That's something that you can factor into it, but I don't think that's
what factored into me with the New England pick. a little bit.
I'd like to live up there, but
Taxes
yeah.
suck ass.
Yeah. but yeah, that's where I'm at.
All right. My least desirable team is the Saints. Here's why. The general manager for the Saints, Mickey Loomis, has stated time and time again that this team does not need a reshuffle, that the core of the team and the staff is solid, and they just need someone to come implement a culture. All the reports, Aaron Glenn is by far and away the favorite to get the Saints job. The reason being is because Mickey Loomis is familiar with Aaron Glenn, and it is reported that if Aaron Glenn got hired, Aaron Glenn would not go and hire a whole brand new staff. A lot of the same offensive coordinator Clint Kubiak would probably come back. A lot of the position coaches would stay the same, and that's what Loomis wants because Loomis doesn't think the team is broken. He's not willing to admit it. We also have a negative $50 million in cap room and a quarterback that's not willing to take a pay cut next year because he proved it all on tape. Only thing I saw on tape after the first two games was a Reed Blankenship game-winning pick. That pick against Kansas City that was awful, and a Chris Olave hospital ball. So, not seeing a whole lot on that tape, but you're stuck with him for at least another year, probably. You got a top 10 pick, but with no real clear direction on who to draft because you're not really one piece away at any spot. So, I think the Saints' job is just eventually the owner's going to have to step in and fire the GM, and you're going to get drawn into that more than likely. Right. So I think this is a 2-year job at best.
Right. It's tough right now being a Saints fan. I'm sure, Wyatt, but so you brought up the point of like the culture, like they want somebody to instill a culture. I still think they got a lot of the key guys that was there when they made their playoff run that they had, like from that culture. Cam Jordan's still there. Who else? Demario Davis is still there. I mean, like defensively, they still have a culture. And like Alontae Taylor, we talked about him a couple months ago when the Eagles and Saints played, but I thought Alontae Taylor was a pretty good player. It kind of sets the tone. But like you said, their problem is they just ain't got no money. They got money tied up in the wrong things right now, and Mickey Loomis is not a smart person for thinking that team doesn't need a readjustment.
Yeah, I think it's just, as a fan, it's disheartening to hear your team just double down and double down and double down when everyone is consensusly saying that it's a problem.
Yeah.
The Dennis Allen tenure really killed the culture. We're apologizing to the Falcons because we scored on the last second, and then we get rid of fucking Jameis because of it, and like just a lot of shit that rubbed the locker room the wrong way. Like you said, we do have a lot of those leaders there, but Cam Jordan is a shell self. Demario Davis is creeping up on 35 years old. We just lost Ryan Ramczyk. If he's going to retire in the summer, which he wasn't there all year anyway. There's just the stars we do have are either old or hurt all the fucking time. Like even Taysom Hill's like 33. And he hasn't even been in the league. It feels like he's been in the league like 6 years, but he was drafted at 27. So it's just disheartening. I feel like as a coach, it's like, all right, well, where's my next defensive coordinator job going to be if I take this job? Because I'm not going to be here long.
Right.
So I will say, though, I agree with Chase on the Raiders being towards the bottom. They were my fifth. No real, like, they're just mid consistently across the board. And then there's Max Crosby.
That team has like no real direction.
No, you are. It is a complete roster overhaul for that team. So, and then we're talking. So let's kind of. I'll just kind of go through my So obviously 5 is the Raiders. Another bottom tier team, I think, is the Jets. The
That's
roster,
probably one of my last ones.
that's my 4. The roster looks on paper solid. They have one of the better rosters out of these teams. Garrett Wilson, Devontae Adams, Aaron Rodgers, young guys on defense, but culture's fucked, quarterback's old, and the ownership and the GM group are just fucking cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. I don't know what the fuck's going on. They're taking Madden ratings into fucking consideration. They're letting a 17-year-old kid hand out fucking game balls. I mean, like, it's just a circus.
Yeah. I don't think I'd like to work for a regime that is under the ownership of Woody Johnson. That guy's a nutcase.
Dude's whack.
I think that job either becomes appealing or unappealing, depending on what happens with Aaron Rodgers. For some coaches, they want to work with him, but for others, they probably don't want to work with him. Also, we don't know what he has left because he has, he didn't look good this year.
Yeah.
So let's say he does retire, you don't have a quarterback. You have, I believe, Tyrod Taylor and Jordan Travis. Which cool, but they can't draft a quarterback. They select 7th this year. That's not going to happen.
I've seen a lot of things on Twitter about letting Jordan Travis have some run, and you haven't seen him yet because he's been hurt all year. So it'll be interesting. I do agree. You're kind of at a weird direction where you're young at a lot of spots, but at the key spots that make or break your team, you're old.
Yeah. It could be. Sam Darnold could be the hottest commodity in free agency this year if the Vikings let him walk.
Yeah, very well could be. What's funny for the Jets is your 2 oldest players, left tackle, quarterback.
Not good.
Dwayne Brown and Aaron Rodgers.
The powerhouse of the offense.
Yeah, 2 key positions.
The 2 most important positions on your offense are 2 of the oldest players in the league. My top 3, Pat's at 3 because of Drake May. You got a quarterback. 2, the Bears, Caleb Williams, Ramadunze, the roster. Number 1 for me is the Jags. You got T. Law, who is somebody that you need to make a decision on, and we'll very well quickly get to see, was it Doug Peterson or was it T. Law that was the problem? But you also got Brian Thomas Jr. You got the backfield pair of Tank Bigsby and Travis Etienne.
For now.
I think it should just be Tank the whole way. Let Etienne go. You got Trayvon Walker, who they drafted number 1. A lot of people think, oh, he's a bust. Well, I saw something this morning. He's been a double-digit sack guy the last 2 years. 10 and a half. So was he worth the number 1 pick? No. Could have gotten fucking Aiden Hutchinson. But he's putting up double-digit sacks. So solid for him. I think for me, if I'm a coach, I want a quarterback or I want to pick high enough to go get one. And unfortunately, the 2 highest picks in the draft somehow are retaining their fucking coaches. I don't know how the fuck Brian Callahan and fucker over there and since Cleveland still has a fucking job.
Kevin Stefanski.
Both should be fired in my opinion.
Yeah. I don't know. It's that Jaguars job seems a little, I don't know. Something's kind of wonky about it. They got weapons. It's just I don't know a whole lot about T-Law. But like the most enticing one to me is obviously the Bears job. I think that's like the number 1 spot that I would want to go as a coach. They got good playmakers. They have a quarterback who I believe is an MVP caliber player if you get him an offensive line and keep him off of his back every 2 snaps that he takes in the NFL.
Well, 4 out of 5 need to go.
Yeah. It
They have $80 million for free agency too.
yeah.
Okay? They're losing Keenan Allen, or they're like not losing them, but
See ya.
their most notable free agents are Keenan Allen and Tevin Jenkins.
Yeah.
See
I
ya.
wouldn't keep either of them. And then who they got? Did they got a pick this year? Oh, they got the 10th pick.
Yeah.
So
Tackle.
They're in prime tackle position, and
Tackle or take Rutledge if all the tackles go early.
I would be dumping a lot of that $80 million into the top rated interior offensive lineman that they could get.
Brandon Sheriff's a fucking free agent every year. Where are you at, motherfucker? Zach Martin, where are you at? You want a biggie bag? Go.
Yeah, I mean, and I would roll with DJ and Rome and get a third receiver in there who's
lot.
Yeah.
Let Rome fucking cook.
Yeah, just get somebody who's not a big name, obviously, but just somebody who's a competent, solid receiver for their slot. Or they could go the direction, say, fuck it, and go throw T. Higgins a lot of money and bring in T. Higgins too.
Yeah, I think that the Bears is up there. I mean, my top three are the Jags, Bears, and Patriots. I don't really have a word for them. They each have a lot of money they can spend. I believe the Jaguars have a decent amount. They got 35 million. But I mean, they all have quarterbacks. I guess if you still believe in Trevor Lawrence. But I like Drake May. I like Caleb Williams. I don't necessarily like Trevor Lawrence anymore. But you got money, you got draft picks. I think that those are your top three, and then the other ones, I don't know. I don't know how you take those jobs if you are like a good coach. I think if they're going to be one of those people that it's going to have to be a process of getting some,
Right.
lame duck coaches that are there for a short time and then trying to build off of it or get lucky.
I do want to ask y'all this question. This little talking point brought this into my head. If the entire playoff picture had to reset all of their coaches, what would be the most desirable team to go to in the playoffs as a head coaching candidate?
The Eagles
or
Detroit.
I think
the Eagles.
I think any of the teams really. I mean, every team has something that's maybe not the Steelers, unless you're a history guy. Chargers are cool because they got Herbert, they got McConkey, they got a good solid defense. Texans, they got C.J. Stroud. Steelers, Ravens, you got Lamar. Packers, Jordan Love. You got quarterbacks. That's what makes the league.
I would say I'm not trying to glaze, but the Eagles are the most top to bottom talented across the board. And it's the most healthy team going into the playoffs, arguably. Bills, their defense is suspect. Their wide receiver room's shit. But they have a great quarterback. The Lions, if the Lions were fully healthy, they got 26 fucking guys on IR. I might say the Lions, truthfully, because their defense, if fully healthy, I would say they're right where y'all are at. But
right.
The Chiefs are kind of also in that weird phase where they pay too much money to three guys and their team construction's a little wonky. You guys, on the other hand, have so many fucking good young players that you haven't really had to face that problem just yet. So
right. Eventually, couple years down the road, we might have some problems, but as long as Howie Roseman is my general manager, I feel pretty consistent on whatever cap situation that we're in, or extensions or anything. And a lot of it, especially with the Eagles, I think when it comes time for contract negotiations, you see a lot of guys for the Eagles take hometown discounts. They stay with the team that's drafted them. They like the culture, because they're always competing for at least playoffs.
Yeah.
It's just, who knows? I don't know. That was something that came to my mind.
Why you said you had predictions for each team? I'm curious to hear your predictions.
Yeah. So I'll just go down the list here. I'm gonna predict the Cowboys because I think the Cowboys' job's gonna open up. I think the Cowboys. I could just see now. I have two for most of them, like a 1A, 1B kind of pick. So I could see Jerry Jones going one or two ways. Like I could see Jerry Jones waddling up to the press. We'd like to introduce our new head football coach, Ron Rivera. Just
Oh
like
God.
I know that'd be weird, but like I feel like he's either gonna go like the old head move, because like if you look at like the past hires he's made, it's like either internal guys or older proven coaches. Think of Jason Garrett, an internal guy. Think about Mike McCarthy, more of a proven track record. So I think he could either go Riverboat Ron or bring back a familiar face in Kellen Moore. Now, he'd have to swallow his pride a little bit because he fired him fucking 3 years ago. But, he's made a lot of strides as an OC. Was in San Diego, LA, and now over in Philly. So, moving from them, I got the Raiders. I think the Raiders could go one or two ways. I think Joe Brady is a really popular pick, and I think if I'm Joe Brady, Vegas, an opportunity to build something from the ground up could be enticing. Or I could see the Raiders taking they always kind of make the weird pick, like the coach that maybe they shouldn't pick, and Todd Monken to me is that pick. OC in Baltimore, not a whole lot of, you're not talking about Todd Monken like you are Joe Brady or, Ben Johnson. Like he's kind of like this off in the dark abyss kind of offensive coordinator, but he's been solid. So I have him as another potential Raiders head coach. The
I was listening
Jags.
to a lot of Eagles podcasts, and they were kind of talking about the same thing, and they brought up Todd Monken a bunch. They were like, they would rather have Todd Monken over a lot of the hotter names right now.
He's kind of the dark horse candidate. For the Jags, I have one because for me, I think the Jags are the most desirable spot, and I think Ben Johnson goes to Jacksonville. So the other one that's like a no-brainer in my mind is Mike Vrabel to the Pats. Like that one's just fucking lock and key. Based on, and I talked to y'all about this yesterday, and it's kind of started coming up on talk shows, is if you look at the first two coaches they fucking talked to, Pip Hamilton, OC used to be for the Texans, and Byron Leftwich. They got the Rooney Rule guys right out of the fucking way because they know exactly who they're fucking hiring, and they're just trying to get out the technicality. And they're trying to get Vrabel in there, and they don't really give a fuck about anybody else, so they're just finding fucking random ass dudes because they haven't gotten requested to be interviewed by any other team but them. So a lot of people have been talking about how that's fucked. But right. It is what it is. The Bears. So I don't have Ben Johnson going to the Bears for two reasons. Mainly the first reason being I don't think he's going to stay in the division. I think he has too much respect for Dan Campbell to go to Chicago. I also think he is fine with being with Trevor Lawrence if he's not going to be with Caleb Williams. So out of respect of Dan, he'll go to a team where there's a quarterback that he would also enjoy to work with. So
but to your point on that one, like counterpoint, he could want to stay in the division because he could want to just fuck up Brian Flores for 2 games a year, the same coach that fired him when they were in Miami together.
I mean, that's fair. The two names, though, for Chicago, Logan and Jake, I feel like are solid names that I have picked. One is Pete Carroll. If Pete Carroll wants to coach in Chicago, I'd give him a fucking contract tomorrow. To be honest, if he wants to coach there, there's no fucking reason why you shouldn't let him.
Other than the fact that he's 80 years old.
Yeah, and damn near senile.
He can sit on the fucking. Hey, the leaders of this country are right at the same age, and we're somehow still alive. So maybe he can run a football team for 1 or 2 more years before he decides to hang them up. My other option for them is Cliff. Cliff worked with Caleb. There's an instant relationship there. If Cliff is going to leave, I'm a believer that Cliff's not going to leave. I don't think he wants to deal with the bullshit of being a head coach again because of how bad it went in Arizona. Like, I feel like there's a reason why he didn't go immediately back into head coaching on the college level. He was just a fucking analyst because he was like, I just want to draw plays and work with the quarterbacks and hang out kind of deal. I don't really want to have to.
Where was he
talk
at?
to
He
the
was at
media.
USC, wasn't he?
With Caleb, offensive
Yeah, he was-
analyst.
Yeah.
So the Saints, Aaron Glenn's number one. If we don't get Aaron Glenn, for some reason he wakes up and it's like, I want to build my own staff. I'm going to go somewhere where I can do that. I think Joe Brady is another name. Used to coach for the Saints before he went to LSU and won a natty with Joe Burrow. Came back, coached in Carolina, sucked, went to Bills to be the QB coach, and then has kind of emerged himself as a top OC in the league. That's my want. I would fucking cry if Joe Brady was the Saints head coach because I would just be so excited to have an offensive mind in the building that is the head coach.
I was the same way before we hired Nick Sirianni because that was the same year he took that Carolina job.
Yeah. And then lastly is the Jets. I think this is going to be the fucking head scratcher of the year. And these two names, you're probably going to be like, what the fuck? And if I'm right, you're going to be more like, holy fucking shit, he was right. First, Rex Ryan. I could see them bringing him back just as a, think of like Golden State when they brought in fucking Mark Jackson as like the bridge coach for Steve Kerr. Got the culture right, and then he got fired, and then they let the real coach come in. I can see Rex Ryan being brought in as a bridge coach to get the culture turned back around, especially if Rodgers leaves. If Rodgers leaves, I think Rex is the right call. I don't think they would get along very well.
I don't think
if Aaron was still there. So I have another coach that I think could be the coach if Aaron stays. Now, here's my thought behind this. You can't have an OC younger than Aaron Rodgers because it's not going to work. So you can't have like a head coach that's an offensive mind that's younger than Rodgers. So like guys like Ben Johnson, guys like Joe Brady, I don't think they would be respected enough by Aaron to be successful. Look at fucking LaFleur over in Green Bay.
I was about to say they didn't jive while he was there.
Exactly. So my thought is a guy that's a little bit older, has been coaching with another successful quarterback, has been a head coach in the past, and would be very Jets-like to hire, and that's Matt Nagy.
Andy Reid, no.
Matt Nagy to the Jets would be the most Jet move if you're keeping Rodgers, and I would love to see Rex Ryan on a sideline again. That'd be fucking hilarious. Give the hard knocks to the Jets again. I don't care. Find a way, fucking fudge the numbers, do something. But my two dark horses that could get jobs, but probably won't this cycle, but I could see next cycle. Kellen Moore, Liam Cohen. Liam Cohen's OC for the Bucks.
Yeah.
A lot of people are saying he's just a little too young, hasn't been around that long. But I could see next year him being more of a name for jobs. He's kind of like in that Joe Brady kind of level. So
yeah,
that's what I got.
I like it.
Well, let's let everybody talk for a minute, and let's talk about these games. So let's talk about Eagles Packers first. Let's give myself a break from talking for a minute. Boys, you're going to be in attendance. So maybe. I'm praying that you are. Okay.
Yeah. If for I need my health and Chase's health, pray.
Bryce, if you get stranded on I-24, I live close enough to Nashville. I'll come get you and take you to the airport. We'll get it there.
Appreciate it.
But let's talk about that game. You guys can kind of sit back, and if I see anything that I think y'all missed, I'll interject at the end.
Go ahead, Chase.
Oh, well, so for those of you listening out there, there's a big-ass snowstorm coming. I'm flying from Atlanta. Bryce is flying from Nashville, and apparently the only day of the year that there's big storms is the day we need to leave. Also, Atlanta hasn't had snow in 10 years. Guess what happened on Friday? There's going to be snow. And and the day after, nothing. The day after that, nothing. The rest of the year, probably nothing. But there's going to be snow and ice, and I'm not sure how they're going to act. So I changed my flight to tomorrow, Thursday. This will be out tomorrow, so tonight. In hopes that I make it there. If I can't fly, I'm driving, but I gotta do what I gotta do. However, I think it's gonna be a good game. I think that I was a little nervous. I had a little anxiety earlier this week because I just didn't know if Jalen was going to play. Jalen Hurts has been in concussion protocol for the past 2 weeks, but every part of me, like whenever you get the negativity, like out of your mind, the Eagles can, and I believe they did, hold Jalen Hurts out of practice because you can't control that. Just to kind of give him a break from everything. He didn't have to do media. He didn't have to do anything the past 2 weeks. So I think they held him out for this week. He wasn't going to play. And also, if he got a second concussion within these next the past 2 weeks, he would have been out. He had to be out for a month. So I think the Eagles play it safe with him. He's back. He practiced today. He should be able to play. Now, I will say the Packers are dealing with the biggest thing. I think is the Packers are dealing with two major losses. I think Christian Watson might be a stretch when it comes to major loss, but he is probably the best receiver that they have as far as the deep threat goes. And then of course Jair Alexander is not playing as well. I think that's huge. They still have Xavier McKinney. They still got a tough run defense. But I think that the biggest thing is, and Saquon Barkley, if he gets hot in the second half, the way he has pretty much all year, I think that the Eagles can run away with this. It might be like one of those grit and grind type games, but he, I think the Eagles got it, man. I feel pretty confident. My confidence level is probably on a scale of 1 to 10. It's probably like a 7.5, 8 right now. When it gets closer to the game, when I get a few beers in me, it might be at a 25. But I don't know. What do you think, Bryce?
I'm actually kind of in the opposite boat of you. I was fairly confident at the beginning of the week. Closer we get to the game, it worries me a little bit.
I think you're just more nervous about the flight.
A little bit of all of it, pretty much. But we all know in this league it's kind of tough to beat the same team twice. But it helps. This is in Philly. The biggest thing to watch right now is with Jordan Love. He was limited in practice today, and the team kind of kicked the media out of practice when they went under like team drills and throwing drills. They kind of made the media leave. So they don't know if he threw or he just kind of standing there. And take it for what you want, but he kind of said today in an interview, Jordan Love, he's like, "We'll see if I can play." That's not something you want to hear from your starting quarterback. But another big thing is on the Packers defense, they've been without Quay Walker for the past 3 games. We'll see if he can. We'll see if he can go on Sunday, but we don't we don't know. But like you mentioned, the loss of Jair, loss of Christian Watson, it's tough blows for a Packers team who's coming into Philly and having to face what, like Wyatt said, damn near a fully healthy Eagles team.
They do have all 22 starters from
Right.
playing.
Yep.
So it's a tough test for the Packers, but we've seen how they've performed in playoffs, even dating back to last year. Kind of walked in, destroyed the Cowboys. So, I mean, it's not a team you could take lightly. Some people think it's going to be a blowout. I don't think so. It's going to be a closer game, but
I think it could be a blowout. It could swing.
I mean, it very well has the possibility of the Eagles could jump on this team early, and the Packers just can't do anything to fight back from it. And then at that point, that's where that's why you pay your left tackle and a right tackle, left guard. You pay them guys a lot of money. Cam Jurgens probably about to get a big extension at the end of this year, so you pay them guys a lot of money for the job they were able to do this year, and gave a lot of money to a man wearing number 26 in the backfield. So if it comes to they jump up on the lead early, look for in the second half, get him rolling, and it's curtains at that point.
I'd say from the notes I had, both teams are really good against the run on defense. They can both defend the run really well. Now, can they defend the run against Saquon Barkley for 4 quarters? Some would. I think most people would say no. And if that's the case, I think there's a clear path to victory. But I do think early in the game, you guys are going to have to pass the ball in order to get a little bit of that cushion and really gain a little bit of variety. Because you guys are, bottom 4 pass team in the league. But you are the number 1 passing defense in the league. So that helps you out a lot against a Green Bay team that doesn't have one of their top 3 receivers. So I do think in the first half, this game's probably going to be slow. A lot of running that isn't going to work. A lot of 3rd and longs. So what teams can convert early will probably be who gets the lead early. And then in the second half, when people get tired, I think you'll see Saquon start to break open the game a lot. So, and you guys will be in attendance, so that's like some juju. So I have the Eagles winning personally. I know you guys do too. So,
real quick, speaking of you said Saquon break it open in the second half. So Saquon has 2,005 rushing yards this year. He has, I believe, 1,280 something yards in the second half alone, which would be 8th in the league in rushing.
There you go.
That's kind of crazy.
It's like Derrick Henry effect. You start getting tired, he does it.
Yeah.
But let's go ahead and jump over to another NFC game. Vikings-Rams. For me, this game, I picked the Vikings personally, and I'll kind of talk to you why. Roster construction-wise, they're very similar on offense. Receiving backs, gunslinging quarterbacks, and then when it gets to defense, it gets a little different. So, but in terms of matchups, the Rams are the 20th or around 20th in both passing and rushing offense. The Vikings suck defending the pass, but they are the number one of the top rushing defenses in the league. So, I think that forces potentially the Rams to be one-dimensional, which is something you don't want to happen if you're a team going into a game like this. I think turnovers for this game are huge. So some stats here for you. Sam Darnold's thrown a pick in 9 games this year. 2 of those games were multi-pick games. Does anyone want to guess what his record is in those 9 games?
This year?
Mm-hmm.
What he's probably what, 8-1?
8-1 on the money. So that's something to note. It's almost a good thing if Sam throws a pick. On the flip side, Matt Stafford, he hasn't thrown a pick since November. But early on in the season, he was throwing picks a little bit more. In those games where he throws an interception, the Rams are 4-4. So I think the Vikings have a chance to really force Stafford to throw the ball, and if they can force a turnover, then based off statistics, they got a 50-50 shot. Something to note, the Vikings have the most takeaways of any defense in the league. So that could very well play a factor. And I also think the Vikings have a lot of fuel behind this game because the only team not named the Detroit Lions to beat them this season is the LA Rams. So that's why I'm picking the Vikings.
I think this is probably one of the better games this weekend. Especially like it's a good Monday night game for sure. Because the past couple Monday night games have been rough as far as the playoffs go. I mean, think back to last year when the Bucks absolutely whooped our ass in front of everybody. The Vikings are a 1-point favorite over the Rams. It's tough because the Rams, they have Matthew Stafford, they got Kyron Williams, Cooper Kupp, Puka Nacua. On the flip side, the Vikings have Sam Darnold, Aaron Jones, Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison.
Hawk.
Yeah, there's a lot of firepower on offense. The main difference to me is the defense. I think the Vikings have the edge on that. And also, this might not mean anything at all, but the Rams are 5-4 at home, and the Vikings are 6-2 on the road. So there's not a ton of home field advantage for the Rams ever. I don't know if you ever watched the Rams game, but typically there's a lot more away jerseys than there would be at like any other stadium. So I'm going to take the Vikings here. I think it's a close game. Now, if the Vikings lose and one of the division winners wins, they get to go back to Detroit and in a rematch of Week 18 that they feel like they need because I mean it wasn't the greatest showing in the world. So I got the Vikings winning, and they're praying that they go back to Detroit.
Bryce.
Yeah, I picked the Vikings in this one. To me, it just comes down to the quality of weapons. I think these offenses have Kyron Williams, Cooper Kupp, Puka Nakua, and against Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, Aaron Jones. And it matters on the style of defenses they're going against. I think Brian Flores he's one of the better defensive coordinators in this league. Can run multiple systems, multiple schemes, and it just to me something's telling me this is a Jettas game. I don't know what it is, but I think this is one of the Justin Jefferson games that we've kind of seen this year. But dating back to I believe it was the Bills and Vikings playoff game a couple years ago. Made that one-handed catch. It just feels like a game where he could take over.
All right. Moving over to Bucks and Commanders. I personally think this is the most contested pick you can make this weekend. If you look at them from like total offense, total defense perspective, you have the number 4 and 5 total offenses going at it, scoring offenses in the league. Bucks are the number 3 passing offense. Commanders are 7th. When it comes to rushing, they're 3rd and 4th. So they can both run, they can both pass. Defense is where this gets interesting. Commanders have the 3rd worst rushing defense in the league, allowing 137 yards a game on the ground. The Bucks are top 5 rushing defense in the league. The Bucks are bottom 4 in passing
Absolute
defense.
Dog shit.
And the Commanders are 3rd in passing defense. So both teams have a very clear way to attack the other team. If you're the Commanders, you want to throw the ball. If you're the Bucks, you want to run the ball. Now, what's going to be the kicker is what team can do the other one better. I think the real key here is this going to be a tight game where it's a 13-14 play drive kind of game where it's a under 40-point total? I think you look at the Buccaneers winning a game like that. Now, if this is a game where the Commanders get out in front early and force the Bucks to have to throw the ball, that's what you want if you're the Commanders. So I think this is really going to be the dance between Todd Bowles and Cliff throughout the game that's really going to determine who wins this game. My personal thought process is the Bucks are 2-0 in wildcard games. They have more experience in this, and I'm going to take the Bucks in this one.
Yeah,
I know, it's crazy. After
yeah.
what I said in the group chat the other day, like I sat down and I started thinking about this, and I'm looking at all the numbers, and I'm like, man, I'm a fucking liar.
I think that the most intriguing matchup in this game is Mike Evans versus his little brother. I think if they get into it,
they might get that. This game might result into 2 ejections within the first 2 minutes of the game.
yeah, who knows? We'll see what happens. I think you mentioned it. Experience is, I think, a little bit underrated going into like this matchup. I mean, Jaden Daniels is. I'm not going to say anything nice. He's cool, but I don't think that he has the experience needed to beat a team like this. I think Baker Mayfield is one of the streakiest passers in the NFL. But if he gets hot, there's no stopping that offense. Now, if he's cold, you got Bucky Irving you can throw a lie on, but I mean, Baker can completely change this game. The over under right now for this game is 50.5, which I believe is by far and away the most points predicted. Next one being Vikings and Ram at 47.5. So they're expecting lots of points this game, and I can see why. Both defenses have major weak points when it comes to rushing or passing. And I think that both offenses are looking to take advantage of it. I will say the one thing that hinders the Commanders, and it will always be this way, is the fact that they don't have a solid wide receiver 2. I think at some point it's going to come and bite them in the ass. I don't know if it's going to be to this Bucs team that has terrible pass defense.
Jordan Whitehead.
At some point it's going to bite them in the ass, and I believe that that's going to be their main target in the offseason.
Yeah, I agree. Like to me, this game it's kind of tough to call because to me this game really depends on what Baker Mayfield you're getting in this game. This game could be close, and the Commanders could pull out a close game. But if Baker plays the way that he has played in previous years, to where if he's just feeling it and in that game completes a couple passes early and the offense is just driving, he is the hottest quarterback in the NFL. I have no idea why. It is, I don't know. There's something about him. It seems like everything he throws downfield is a completion, and you just can't seem to stop it. I I picked the Bucs in this game. It's just that's a tough team to stop when they're firing on all cylinders.
So we've picked the same 3 so far.
Yep, for the NFC.
So if that happens, it'd be Vikings, Lions, Eagles, Bucs. Cinema.
All right. So let's see if we say the same way on the AFC side. Broncos, Bills. I have a feeling we picked this one the same. Bills playing at home. Both teams can defend the pass. Both teams can defend the run decent. So it really just comes down to, which offense is going to show up. You have Josh Allen. You have Bo Nix. I'm taking Josh Allen. Mainly because not only does the Broncos defense have to create pressure, but they also have to contain. And I feel like one of the hardest things to do as a defensive lineman is to consistently contain a quarterback that can run. Especially one that can run through your fucking face.
Yeah.
And I don't think they're going to be able to do that very well. And I think the Bills take this one. I think the Broncos will score more than what people are probably thinking. But I think the Bills will come out on top of this one.
So I'm going to say this. I wouldn't be surprised if the Broncos win. I'm not picking them to win, but this is a game I feel like has the most upset potential just because the Bills are known for letting people down. Now, who has a better team? Obviously the Bills, but the Broncos are no slouches. I think Bo Nix has been phenomenal this year. Cortland Sutton, a solid wide receiver. You got I forgot what his name, the other wide receiver for the Broncos.
Vele,
yeah. He's come along just fine. The running backs are still pretty rough.
Dog shit.
Yeah, it's a rough look for the Broncos. But I'm gonna pick the Bills. I wouldn't say I'm too confident in it because, like I said, I do think that there is upset potential here. But I'm taking the Bills.
Bo Nix legacy game. I think you know what? I'm riding with the upset. I'm riding with the Denver Broncos on this one. I don't know what it is. I'm feeling something. That defense for the Broncos has been pretty solid this year, especially up front. Nick Bonito has turned into just a stud. And if I'm not mistaken, Zach Allen is a Bronco, pretty sure, is having a good year. Yeah, man, I don't know. It's just I think the Broncos are playing some pretty good football right now when it comes down to it.
Playing good football with $80 million in dead cap tied up to Russell Wilson. It's crazy to think.
Right. I wasn't expecting this from Bo Nix.
I was
coming into the league. If you ever followed like the prospect rankings that me and Chase put out last year, Bo Nix was not one of our top quarterbacks.
I always wanted him ever since the beginning, even at Auburn.
He's definitely surprised me, and this feels like a good spot for an upset. So, give me the Broncos.
All right, moving on to Ravens Steelers. All right, I got a really quick one here. Both teams defend the run, neither can defend the pass. Ravens can throw and run. Steelers can run, but can't pass worth the fuck. My thought process is this. Arthur Smith versus the number one rushing defense multiplied by George Pickens' 15-yard penalty equals a win for the Ravens. Ravens are 12-3 since starting 0-2, and the Steelers are on a 4-game losing streak. So it's all about getting hot at the right time, and the Steelers are the farthest thing from it. Give me the Ravens.
Yep. I think my pick was just going to be simple. The Steelers limp their way into the playoffs. The Ravens are winning games. So I'm gonna take the Ravens here. They are 9.5-point favorites right now, and I think that could easily be surpassed. So give me the Ravens.
Give me the Ravens.
All right.
Pretty simple.
Last game here. Chargers, Texans. Two solid defenses. Both teams have somewhat struggled in the passing game, even though McConkey and Nico have been pretty good this year. Injuries to Houston are apparent. No Tank, no Diggs. Both teams run the ball really well. Now, the Chargers do it, whether you like it or not. And then the other team, with the Texans, are a little more complimentary, and Joe Mixon has had a really good year. To me, I don't think home field plays much into this because it's Houston. And while, yes, the Houston fan base is passionate, it isn't like playing in, I don't know, Philly or New Orleans or somewhere like that, Kansas City. So I don't really think home field plays a factor. I think LA has the better coach. I think Houston has a better chance of winning the turnover battle. So that kind of makes me think, okay, they're kind of even up there. What's the difference? I think is recent performance. Texans are 4-5 in their last 9 games, and lost Diggs and Tank. And the Chargers have been consistently either competing against really good teams or winning games that they need to win. So give me the Chargers.
I don't believe in this Texans team. I really don't. There's not much really to say. They just the eye test. They haven't passed it. I mean, they put up 2 points against the Ravens, right?
Yep.
That was that game. Yeah,
that was it.
They're cold, man, and the Chargers are playing pretty good football. So I'm taking the Chargers here.
I'm taking the Chargers as well. This Texas team's kind of limping into the playoffs right now. They're struggling, and as much as people like to discredit him a little bit, Justin Herbert is a damn good quarterback. I know he doesn't really have the playoff accolades or statistics or even win percentage in the playoffs, but I definitely think Harbaugh's come in and kind of revamped this team a little bit. They're playing with a lot of motivation right now, and it helps when you have a very solid running game. When it comes to interior offensive line play and even their rookie tackle, Joe Alt, has played fucking amazing football right now. And coming from a running back committee with Gus Edwards and J.K. Dobbins, they've two guys who weren't really thought of a lot around the league. They've kind of stepped in and they've did what they needed to do to get this team in the right direction. And they're playing some really good defense against a struggling Texans offense right now. So I'm taking the Chargers.
Okay. Little thing here to piggyback on Joe Alt. Okay. How many sacks do you think Joe Alt gave up this year?
None.
Really?
Or
Chase?
one.
I would say like 3.
One.
Yeah.
Okay.
I thought I saw it the other day.
How many pressures did Joe Alt allow this year?
I think it was like 2.
3.
5. That's fucking insane.
That's really impressive
His
for a rookie
his
left
pass
tackle.
blocking efficiency is 99.1%. To be fair, I mean, in 4 years at Notre Dame, he allowed 4 sacks. So, in 36 games at Notre Dame, he gave up 4 sacks, and then in the league, in 17 games, he gave up 1. That's fucking. Give that man Rookie of the Year. Make that the fucking title.
Stonewall Jackson, motherfucker.
I mean, we said it in our drafting. He was number 1. He's going to be the best tackle prospect.
Like the future Hall of Famer right there. Keeps it up.
Yeah.
And I mean, we had the whole conversation about him versus Max Crosby. And
that's I don't think he allowed a single pressure to Max Crosby.
Well, that motherfucking dog.
So real quick, I know Bryce picked the Broncos, but we'll do majority here. So if it goes the way that we predicted, besides obviously the Bryce exclusion here, it would be next weekend: Lions, Vikings, Eagles, Bucks, Chiefs, Chargers, Bills, Ravens. Pretty good matchups in there.
Cinema.
It's good football to watch.
Yeah, it is. It is. And we'll watch it all.
Mm-hmm.
And we will. And we'll talk about it afterwards on the Hot Drunk Co podcast, boys. Well, welcome, or thank you for, being on the show this week. Bryce, thanks for stepping in. Kendall,
no problem.
Sucks not having you here. We'll see you hopefully next week. Chase, as always, it's always fun with you, man.
If we lose, you won't see me. I'm just throwing that out there.
Yeah, I hope I see you on TV. Is where I fucking hope I see you. I hope I see you fucking Lincoln Financial Field.
My shirt will be off. My shirt will be off.
Yeah.
Flipping off somebody.
Putting fucking diamonds in that motherfucker.
Hey, you, fuck you.
So, hopefully you guys have a good time and safe travels for sure. Getting up there, getting back should be no problem. Getting up there might be fucking tough, but
that's the issue, unfortunately.
Once you touch down in Philly, at least you know you're there. So, hopefully you guys make it, and we will see y'all next week on the Hydro & Co podcast. If you made it this point, like and subscribe if you haven't. Most of the time, the people that are 59 minutes into this thing already know us. But if you don't, thank you. And look at all of our sponsors down below in the comment section. And feel free to watch any of our other videos. I know you guys are about to record another podcast. Go check out the link lineup stuff that they've been posting. A lot of good content, a lot of good draft content probably coming up. Bryce going to get in the lab and start watching some game tape.
That's where I thrive.
Very soon.
So, make sure to watch that. Make sure to keep up with that stuff too. So, thank you guys, and we'll see you next week. Go Saints. We don't have anything to play for.
There you go.